Back to Simright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful off-shoulder pleated flayed gown, as you can see right here on the thumbnail. So this is what we came out with. You can see the off shoulder is relaxing right on the shoulder. It's actually a special kind of off shoulder. So you can see the back is looking very beautiful and cute. The sleeve is relaxing right on the shoulder. So I'll be teaching you the tips and tricks to making this beautiful dress. Apart from that, you can see the pleated part of this dress. Okay, so I have to pleat in my flay, and I'll teach you the tips and tricks to pleating in this flay. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn more. Thank you. Stay tuned. My fabric is crepe, and I'm using 3 yards of crepe fabric for this project. So we are going to cut out the down part of this dress right now because we need a pleated 180 degrees part. So I'll open up my 3 yards. This is the 3 yards and that is 60 inches length. So you are going to put the 3 yards part together. So when you put it together right now, your fabric will automatically become 1.5 yard with 60 inches length. Okay, so we'll begin to calculate right now. So my waist circumference is 24 plus 2 inches zipper allowance, which is 26. So this 26 will divide by 3.14. 3.14 is the constant for cutting 180 degrees flay. So we have 8 inches as our radius, and the length we are cutting is 37 inches. The length of this is 37 because it's a long length. So this 37 inches now, I'm going to start from the the part that is open. Can you see? You measure 37 inches. Under your 3 yards, go up and measure 37 inches. So wherever you have 37 inches, then you now start from the upper, the folded part, and measure what you have. By right, our radius is 8 inches, but you can see now we have more than 8 inches, about 18 inches. So that 18 inches is the pleating allowance. So we'll just keep marking 18 inches. So you have to give enough space for your pleating. Okay, you add enough pleating allowance. Okay, so if you are making a 180 degrees with pleating allowance, this is how to go about it. So if you measure through that line, you can see we have very much to pleat in. I have about 29 inches on that line multiplied by 2, which is enough to pleat into 24 inches waistline. So if you take the measurement from the radius, you see we have 37 inches, and we have the radius 18 inches right now. So I've cut out my fabric right now. This is what we got. I'm going to set this aside right now. So we'll begin to cut out the upper piece. So you can see I made a notch at that center front piece of this 180 degrees we are going to pleat. So I'm going to take my body's measurement right now, starting from the shoulder to the waist line. So just go ahead and mark out your chest line, your bust point, under bust and waistline. So I am going to rule my lines across, which is my vertical lines. So I just go ahead and rule my lines. So after ruling the lines, we are going to impute our shoulder measurement. So this is the shoulder, chest, bust point, under bust, and my waist line. So my shoulder divide by 2 I have marked, and the neckline I used 3 inches. I came down by 1 inch. I marked my shoulder divide by 2 to get a straight line on the chest line. Now I want to get the midpoint and go in by 0.75 for my armhole. Then I'm going to take my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. The center front is going to be on fold. So I marked my bust circumference divided by 4 to complete my armhole. So I'll go over to the bust point and mark my nipple to nipple measurement. So after marking nipple to nipple measurement, my dart intake is 0.75 on each side, which is 1.5. Now I'm going to mark my waist circumference divide by 4, replacing the 1.5 inch dart. So that is my body's measurement. So my bust dart is just 1 inch. Like I said, it's a very small bust. So 1 inch, okay? So I'm going to get the midpoint of my shoulder and connect it to the bust point. Now I'm going to come down by 6 inches. So 6 inches is standard for your neckline. So from the shoulder, measure 6 inches and mark a broken line. So we are going to connect from that 6 inches to the chest line using my curvy ruler to create a sweetheart neckline. So now I'm going to come in. I came in by 1.5 inches on that part. So just come in by 1.5 inches and mark a straight line to the shoulder. Measure whatever you have there. So whatever you have there, mine is 5.2 inches. This figure I marked there, we'll use it to construct the sleeve. So from that 1.5 inches I came in, I'm going to connect it to the armhole. So we are going to go over to the under bust right now. So on the under bust measurement, you take your under bust measurement, divide by 4 and mark on the under bust line. Whatever you have remaining, add 0.25 at the front and the rest at the side. So and use your pattern ruler to connect to it. So you can use any under bust contour you know, okay? But I like to use this and it works perfectly for me. So I'm just remarking what I have there, okay? Just mark it exactly. So I'm connecting this to the waistline to contour my under bust. So this is F1 and this is F2, and we are done with the front bodies right now. So I'm going to, that is the front piece. We'll go over to the back piece now. So for the back piece, we are taking our vertical measurements. We need only our chest and our waistline. So remember, the waistline will be, the back length is shorter by 1 inch because of the bust dart technique. So I'm going to rule my lines across. This is the shoulder line and that is the chest line and this is the waistline. So that is all you need for the back. Now I'm going to take my shoulder divide by 2 on the shoulder. I'll also take my shoulder divide by 2 on the chest. Neckline is 3 inches. I came down by 1 inch. Then I need to connect my armhole. So you get the midpoint of this armhole. Come out by 0.5 inch for the back and connect. On the chest line, divide your bust divide by 4. Whatever you have, go ahead and connect it to the armhole. So now you take your waist divide by 4 and add 1 inch for dart allowance. So our dart for the back is 1 inch. So I'm going to divide my waist divide by 4 into 2 to get the midpoint. Come down on the shoulder by 1 inch and connect the dart leg. So I'm sharing my dart half an inch because that is what I added on this side, 1 inch. So my dart is ready right now. So I'm going to come down by 6 inches just like I did for the front too, for the neckline. So I'll extend my dart leg right now. So I'm contouring by 1 inch. Don't forget to contour your back. So you can see how I'm placing my ruler on the waistline, 1 inch to the shoulder to avoid zip bulge. Then make sure you replace them. You can see I'm replacing all the parts that went off of the pattern. So after replacing, you have your full pattern right now. So but I always like to position my dart leg at the center after adding all these replacement right now. So I pushed my dart 1 inch, my dart leg, I shifted it 1 inch from the former dart leg. So this is my new dart leg. I use broken line for it. Then my dart remains half an inch. So I'm using broken line for the new dart. So you can also decide to go with the old dart anyway, but I like to go with the new dart to position my dart very well after I have added all my replacements. So I'm going to come in by 1.5 again and also mark a broken line. Measure what you have there. I still have 5.2 inches. That will be for my construction of the shoulder. So I'm going to blend in from that point to the armhole because this is an off shoulder. So I just want to create the design, okay? So you mark your neckline where you want it to be. So this is how I want my own to be. at the back. So I marked it from that point to that point. So this is B1, B2, and this is the back bodice we just constructed. So the next thing we are going to do is to start cutting out because we are done. So but we need to contour the oval bust with 0.75, 0.75. So I came back to the oval bust and marked 0.75. So that is our dart for the oval bust. So it's time to cut this pattern, and you can see I'm cutting out the darts. So all the darts, I'm going to cut it out. F1 is going to be on fold when we are cutting it on fabric. So I'll just go ahead and cut out the darts. Close my bust dart. So I'll just go ahead, close that 1 inch bust dart. Okay. So this is my front pattern and it's ready. So you match it up and blend it up a little. I see a little excess, so I'll just match it up to match to the sweetheart part. So we'll go over to cut the back too. So you just cut through the zipper contour line, then cut out your dart. I'm using second dart, so you can cut through first dart. It all depends on you. So I'm using second dart. So this is my zipper point and this is the upper part. Make sure you indicate them for the back. So I've cut out my patterns right now. I added 1.5 inches on the side for seam allowance, and I'm making notch on the under bust. Okay, don't forget to make your notch on the under bust, and on the zipper point you also make a notch to avoid confusion. So now I'm going to take off my pattern to create my bustier. So if you have been following me on this channel, my padding or bustier padding, I always go about it this way. I will mark my bust radius from the bust point to the upper part. I'll also mark my bust radius. That is the difference between my bust point and under bust. Is my bust radius. I'll just take it round. So I'll just go ahead and cut out what I marked out. That is what I'm going to use for my padding. So you can use any method of your padding. This is the method I love to use. Anyhow you know best to pad your bustier, go ahead and do that. So I'm going to use this pattern to cut out my wadding. So I placed my wadding on fold and I am cutting out, adding 1/2 inch seam allowance on the bust point area, but the rest of it I did not add anything. So I'm going to also cut out for the side. I made marks on the upper part and on the bust point to identify them when I take off my pattern. So I'll open up the center front right now. The fabric part is where I'm placing the sticky part of this wadding. Then you secure it with your pin on the other side. So I place the same for the side of this bustier. So I've already used my hair stay to hold them together, and I'm going to sew my bustier lining and fabric. So after stitching, don't forget to make your notches on the curvy part, or else you'll not be able to iron it fine with your tailor's ham. So you make notches and you use your tailor's ham, open up the seams. That is what I'm doing. You can see how I'm ironing it. So make sure you give it a good press. So the flat place, you iron it flat and cut off the excess. So any excess you have, just little excess, blend it up. It does not affect anything at all. So that is what I'm doing right there. So you see what I got right there. So we'll go over to the back to join the back piece together. So for the back piece, you just bring B1, B2 together. So keep matching them the way they are for 4 pieces right there. Just be securing them with your pin the way they are facing. Keep matching them right side to right side. So that is what I'm doing right here. So it's very easy when you go about it this way. And go ahead and stitch at 1/2 inch, which I've done. I've stitched them and I've ironed them. So the back is ready. So we are going to bring back the front and place the lining on it because we want to stitch the neckline. So I'm going to place hold it with my pin, seam line to seam lines for lining and for fabric. Make sure you pin all of them, and After pinning these strategic parts, you can now go ahead and stitch. So I've done stitching and I'm making notches. Don't forget to make notches. And on the seam line part, I used to cut it off. I always chop it off, okay, to avoid being so bulky. So after these notches, you go over and flip your seams to the lining and top stitch. Give it a good press. So for the back, we are going to place the lining and the fabric right side to right side. We'll secure with our pin and stitch the neckline. I left the zipper part open. I usually leave the one in zipper part open. So we'll now go over to the sleeve right now. Remember, we measured 5.2 inches on that sleeve line. So, but I just felt like moving that line a little bit, okay, by half an inch, okay, or you just move it to the half of the shoulder. That's exactly what I did. So whatever you have there, that is what we are going to use. So I have 5.5 right now. So just move it to the point, to the shoulder, divide by 2. I think it will relax well for this particular off shoulder design. It's resting on the shoulder. So whatever you have at that point, also mark it again with a straight line on this part. So, and recheck what you have on that part we went in. So I added the 5.5 inches together. I got 11 inches. So that 11 inches will be the measurement of my sleeve. So I also measure what I have in the new part now. On the neckline, I have 5.25 for the back and 6 inches for the front. So you can see what I'm doing from that new point. Just measure on your neckline for the back and for the front. So whatever you have, that is what you are going to use, work with, okay? I hope this part is not confusing. So what I measured on the neckline after I marked my new line, I'm going to measure exactly on my dress. So from the center front, measure exactly. I got 6 inches. So I just go ahead and mark that 6 inches from the center point. So whatever you get there, just mark exactly on paper back to your fabric. Then reconnect it to the armhole. I'm doing this because I made little adjustment to my pattern, or else you are not supposed to do this. So what you are going to do now, when you are constructing or drafting, make sure you get it right, okay, on your pattern. So you don't need to do what I'm doing now. So I'm just putting it together to cut off that little excess because of the adjustment. So I'll also come over to the back and measure that my new neckline, which is 5.5. That I made adjustment on. So I'll just mark it. Make sure you add your seam allowance. Don't forget, seam allowance is half an inch. So whatever you get, make sure you add your seam allowance. So I just trim off that little adjustment right now. So I'm marking out and adding my seam allowance accordingly. So I'll place the back together to be sure they are equal from the seam line right there, and cut off that remaining excess. So I believe you understand what I did. So now we want to cut out the sleeve. So I place my sleeve on fold. So I place my fabric on fold, and the length is 16 inches and the width is 10 inches on fold. So the folded part is 10 inches. When you open it, it's going to be 20 inches. So I'll just go ahead and stitch half an inch, as you can see. So I'm going to give it a good press right now. So you just go ahead and give it a good press. So I place that center, the joining part at the center, because I want it to be the back of this sleeve. So after ironing it, I'm going to place it on fold again. You can see how I place it on fold. So the measurement of what we got right there, 5.5 inches, I'm going to measure it, is 11 inches on fold, but I'm going to measure one part of it, 5.5, add half an inch to it on the upper area. So that is 6 inches. So from that point of 6 inches, place your armhole to the end like this, okay? Just place it to the end like this. Then on the down part, you are going to measure your bicep, the largest part of your arm. Measure whatever you get, divide by 2, add half an inch for seam allowance. That's what I did there. So you are going to connect from there to that point where the sleeve stops. So I'm going to rule my line from that bicep point then I'm going to cut out what I have. So this is how to construct an off-shoulder sleeve. So you just cut through those lines and the sleeve is ready. So the upper part will be attached to the armhole. Okay, so open up the armhole. This is how we are going to attach it. So you place the sleeve armhole part right side to the dress right side, secure with your pin. You can see how I opened down my dress. So you are going to pin the sleeve area on the right side of the dress, then use the lining. I turned it with the lining and secure with my pin. So I'll go over to the machine and stitch 1/2 inch. So after stitching, this is what I got. So I will bring the back piece on the sleeve area too, place it right side to right side. To repeat the same thing I did for the front, use your lining to cover and stitch. So after stitching, you can see what we have right there. So when you are stitching, please don't stitch to the end. Leave your space on that part. Make a notch on the sleeve. This space is for seam allowance. So you are going to take off the sleeve and join the dress part. Okay, so you can see my line for, I marked my line for seam allowance. So that is where I stop my sleeve. So on the sleeve, you make a little notch. Make a little notch on the sleeve on that point. Then we are going to join lining to lining and stitch down. And we'll also join fabric to fabric and stitch down. Okay, so if you don't understand this part, watch and watch it again. So I'll stitch my seam allowances and give them a good press. So after stitching, you can see that sleeve part I told you to leave open. Okay, so I did it for both sides right now. So you turn the sleeve to the back and pick up the sleeve seam allowance, which is 1/2 inch, and stitch down. So I'm done stitching and this is what I got. Okay, so the upper piece of this dress is ready. So the next thing is to join the pleated part of this dress. So the pleated part, which is the flayed part we cut initially, I'll bring it back. You can see the center point. So I'll bring the dress center point or center front. I'll put them together and mark the center front. So I'm going to place the center front of the dress right now. So is the main fabric which we are going to pleat. I'm going to place right side to right side. So I secure with my pin at the center front. So I'll also secure at the zipper point. So that's how you are going to do that before you pleat. So I'll pick up the zipper part of the flay and pin to the center front. So I begin to pleat the way I want. If you want a box pleat, you pleat. If you want a kissing pleat, whatever kind of pleat. So but for me, I just want it a box pleat. So and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to pleat at 2 inches width. So I use 2 inches width. So if you're on a bigger part, you can use 3 inches width. Okay, it all depends on you anyway. So I go ahead and use 2 inches for my pleating allowance. So I want you to also note that these 3 yards we used, okay, is for a normal or small size. If you're on a bigger part, it means you are going to use 4 inches. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so just measure 2 inches like that. So the more fabric you use, the more pleating you have. That is just the principle. So I'll just go ahead right now and I'm going to continue pleating the 2 inches until I get to the end of one side. Then I'll go over to the other side and do the same, then stitch on it. So I'm going to chalk the part I'm stitching. I'm stitching 1/2 inch. So after stitching, you can see how beautiful the pleats are looking. So that is my pleats right there. And then I'm going to cut 180, just normal 180 with 8 inches radius, which we calculated for the lining. I use a doffé satin fabric for my lining, and I'll get the midpoint of my lining too and attach the 180 degrees. So I'll go over to stitch that lining part right side to right side, and I'm going to stitch 1 inch from end to end. So after stitching, this is what I got right here. So I'm going to attach my zipper right now. So make sure the waistlines, you match the waistline of the fabric together, so you'll be able to get exactly your zipper space. So I'm going to measure from that waistline 9 inches. I'll keep that part open for my zipper. So I'm going to pin that part and now mark 1 inch down. So on the fabric I'm marking 1 inch down. So I'm going to stitch the 1 inch all the way from that zipper point and close up the down piece. So I'm stitching on this line, I'm chalking. So after that, I did that for the lining. So I've marked 1 inch for my zipper, and I'm going to place my zipper. I'm going to sew only on the fabric. For a perfect inseam finishing on this zipper part, you are going to flip your lining and your fabric right side to right side. Secure them on the waistline and you follow the stitches and stitch. So my zip is ready, and you can see the neat finishing we have right here, and the dress is ready. I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video. Thank you.